Tidepools, a water habitat. Tidepools are home to many different kinds of aquatic creatures and can be found all around the world. Tidepools are wonderful ecosystems that are created when waves from the ocean get caught in areas of rocks or other earth formations. Tidepools can be found just about anywhere in the world. Tidepools are full of lots of different types of plants and animals, all living together in beautiful harmony. Tidepools usually consist of 4 separate intertidal levels. The splash zone. Animals that live in this zone are dry most of the time. The high tidal zone. Animals in this zone are dry very often, but underwater during high tide. The mid-tidal zone. Animals in this zone spend half the time underwater and the other half dry. The low tidal zone. Animals in this zone are always underwater and might not survive on land. Sea urchins. Sea urchin bodies are covered in super sharp spines for protection, some of which are poisonous. Their bright colors help warn predators that they are dangerous to try to eat. Different sea urchins have different kinds of spines. Some are short and thick. Some, like this one, are long and thin. Some spines are hollow, like a straw, and are often poisonous to the touch. Starfish. There are different kinds of starfish. This one is a very little one, resting on the shell of a small snail. Starfish are one of the few tidepool creatures that can live both in and out of the water. Although sea stars live underwater and are commonly called starfish, they are not fish at all. They do not have gills, scales, or fins like fish do, and they move quite differently than fish. There are about 2,000 species of sea stars. Some live in the high tidal zone, others live in deep water, tropical areas, and in cold water. Sea slugs and hermit crabs. The sea slug is also commonly referred to as a sea cucumber, mainly because of the sea slug's shape and the fact that it is normally found on coral or rocks, being very still, making it look like a type of plant. The sea slug is an often interesting addition to a saltwater aquarium and can be useful in keeping the algae levels very low. Although the sea slugs leave a mostly motionless life. They are an important factor in any water environment. There are more than 500 different species of hermit crabs found in water habitats all around the world. Although hermit crabs do venture into deeper waters, they are more commonly found in coastal waters, like tide pools, where there is more food and places to hide. It is thought that hermit crabs often hide amongst other animals, such as sea anemones, as a form of protection. Other tide pool animals. Sea snails. The shells of most sea snails are coiled, though some have conical shells. Their shells are found in a variety of shapes and sizes, but are normally very small. The largest living sea snail species is almost 1 meter around, and the smallest species have shells that are less than 1 millimeter when full grown. Crabs. Crabs are generally covered with a thick exoskeleton and are armed with a single pair of claws. The earliest crab fossils are from the Jurassic period. Crabs usually walk sideways because the joints of their legs makes walking that way easiest. Squat lobsters. They look like big lobsters in some ways, but are flatter and much smaller. Squat lobsters can be different in length from 9 centimeters down to only a few millimeters. Chitons. Most chitons feed by scraping microalgae off of rocks with a toothed tongue called a radula. Wild oak grazing mollusks have a radula. Chitons are special because their teeth are coated with iron. Mussels. The mussel's outside shell is composed of 2 halves or valves connected by a hinge. Mussels are filter feeders, which means they feed on plankton and other microscopic sea creatures, which are floating in the water. Barnacles. Barnacles are encrusters, which means they attach themselves permanently to a hard surface, although they have been found at water depths to 2,000 feet. Most barnacles inhabit shallow waters. Spider conch. The spider conch, also known as Lambus lambus, is a species of large sea snail. Lambus lambus is known to be a vegetarian, feeding on fine red algae and other plant life. Sand dollars. The terms sand dollar, sea cookie, snapper biscuit, or pansy shell refer to the species of very flat, burrowing sea urchins. The name sand dollar comes from the way the skeletons of dead ones looked after being washed onto the beach. Sculpins. Most are found in shallow sea waters, though some live in deeper waters. The sculpins are of little value to humans because they are not a tasty fish to eat. There are about 300 different species of sculpins. The largest grows to be about half a meter long. Flagtails. The special feature of these fish is a scaly sheath around its fins. During the day, they usually school or group together, breaking up at night to feed on smaller fish and crustaceans. Plant life in a tide pool. Kelp and seaweed are the most common types of plant life found in the ocean, and the same is true for in tide pools. Many of the creatures that live in tide pools rely on plants like kelp and seaweed for food and shelter. Symbiotic living. Symbiotic living means two or more creatures can only survive if they stick together. In tide pools, the best example of this idea is between anemones and clownfish. The sea anemone protects the clownfish from predators, as well as providing food from the leftover scraps from its meals and dead tentacles. In return, the clownfish defends the anemone from its predators and parasites. The anemone also gets nutrients from the clownfish's poo. Unfortunately, because of human development, tide pools, like a lot of the bodies of water we live near, are being damaged and made extinct by garbage and other pollutants. These beautiful ecosystems are in danger, so we need to take better care of them before they are all gone. Thank you for watching! This has been a Dune J. Cook 2nd grade ALP production of Tidepools, a water habitat.